Hello, it's me, Silver the Wack. I think I need to put this in my ear just to have the illusion that I have a microphone. But it's been raining, so I want to be able to hear the rain if it returns. It stopped for now, but yeah, I'm hopeful since I stayed home because of the rain. Yeah. I was supposed to leave the house today and go meet homie, but yeah, we plan to go outside, or rather to stay outside, so with that, it was kind of impossible to keep those plans up. And yeah, well, life happens. It is what it is, you know? We have Peaky Blinders today. One funny thing about this mug is that it came with a shower gel thing that I haven't used yet. Because it's so pretty. I mean, I could use it and keep the package, but yeah, the tendency with that is that eventually the empty packages will just end up in the bin. I'm not a hoarder as much as my mom thinks I am. I just keep like knickknacks and stuff, memories, if you will. But yeah, I hope that your weekend is going well. If you don't work over weekends, I hope you're relaxing. And if you work over weekends, I hope that nobody bothers you too much. Because I do know that working over weekends usually means customer service and hospitality. And that sucks because weekends tend to be the times when people have the most time, so they go to like restaurants, coffee shops, places like that, you know, where they feel entitled to things for no reason. Yeah. Though I remember when I had to work like over holidays such as Christmas and stuff, people were quite nice. Like, I would even say nicer than usual. Even with the stress of the holiday shopping and stuff, it was, maybe it was the spirit of the season that made them less rude. Not that they were rude in general, but I felt like this extra care over the holidays, which was quite nice. You know, of course, on Christmas Day nobody works. Like, I suppose some places might be open, or rather, I'm sure that some places are open, such as hospitals and even some hospitality places, I imagine. Hotels, even. But I think for the most part, places just close down. Since, you know, it's one of those days I guess, in societies, or rather places where the majority of people are Christians and stuff. Yeah, the 25th of December, for example, is one of those dates that means everything is locked, is closed, or most things are closed. So yeah, and yeah, I hope that yesterday was also good for you. I have that relaxing sleep story thing. Not entirely sure about this one. I'm kind of trying to build not a universe, because this is like slice of life. That's the point. It's supposed to be relaxing stuff, you know, not convoluted plots or anything, just no conflicts, just minor inconveniences, things like that. That's the gist of this kind of story. But I want the whole community thing to be apparent, and I want all these characters that I am creating to be connected to one another in some way, right? So that it feels like a community, to give that warm, cozy feeling of a community, of a loving and accepting community. That's the vibe I'm going for. Like I said, this story is also about queer people. The next one I'll write eventually will be about straight people. And I already have an idea for that. So yeah. But these first two, I just really wanted to make it clear that this is a story with queer people, told by a queer person. Yeah. And I guess that if you don't like queer people, all I can say is block me, click back, don't engage. I'm not doing anything by existing. I'm not forcing anything down anyone's throat. These stories I even tag, not exactly because I want them to be found, but more so to just have what it is in those tags, so that it's not a case of, oh, I didn't know this was about this, that, and the other. Yeah, because I value tags and warnings a lot, so I want to do what I preach. I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired. Oof, this coffee is gonna have to do a lot of heavy lifting, even though it's the afternoon. Because I was kinda stressed, I will have to admit that. Sorry. But this always happens when I do something that I normally don't. And I didn't really sleep very well. So now I'm tired. It's nothing to do with you, homie, or you, anyone watching this. It's really a me problem. I don't mind doing spontaneous things, like when I'm already outside and someone says we should go XYZ place. I'm like, sure, let's go. But before I'm doing something that I normally don't, I feel this sense of dread and anxiety, even though I know where I'm going and what will happen, more or less. It's that more or less that stresses me out. Yeah, and since I have a generalized button anxiety, it's kind of bad. Wouldn't recommend. But I don't know. I have a story to tell. One that I remembered, which was a strange story actually. Not exactly that I remember. I mean, I remembered after being told, or rather retold the story. And so I took some time to write it down, like translate what I was retold. Maybe it's not entirely the same story as my grandma told me, but I think it caught the gist of the story. It's a strange tale. Like, it's not one of the usual ones that my grandma used to tell, but when I re-heard the story, it kind of reminded me of other folk tales from around Europe and other folk tales that I've read in my research and stuff. I still will be looking into folk tales from other places to, compare. Maybe that's what I'll get from that, compared to the stories that I know, and see the connections, because I feel like the contact between peoples, right? The contact during the Great Migrations and all that. I feel like some stories have similarities and they're not accidental. I feel like they come from the same sources, from the same, I want to call them tribes, because in my view that's what they that's what they were. And in Europe you see a lot of small countries, and usually they are language communities, right? But those peoples originally were tribes, small tribes, and even in those small countries you have dialects, right? And a dialect is a language in itself. There are obviously some cases of dialects that are just, the same language with some words that don't exist in the standard language of the country. But in general, a dialect is a language without an army behind it to defend it. Like, for example, Germany is very divided. How should I put it? The territories, everyone speaks their own dialect and it's easy to tell them apart, but there's one standard dialect, right? And that's the one that goes on TV. That's the one that the president. Let's call them the president. The president speaks, but the differences in accents and stuff are prevalent in all European countries, I think. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And even in the United States, I've even heard some really whack stories of people trying to claim that it was the same thing to cross into another state as it was to cross into a different country in Europe. Like, imagine you cross from Poland to, let's say, Germany. The languages are completely different and unintelligible. Like, it's not the same at all as you crossing the border from one United States state to another United States state, because the language is ultimately the same. Like, even if the person speaks with a different lilt and uses different expressions, it's still the same language, it's still English. The same thing happens in the United Kingdom. Like, you go to the next city over and you're met with some accents that you may have some trouble understanding at first. And, like, you go to Cornwall or Wales, Northern Ireland, and let's not even talk about Scotland. It's English, but a lot of people from England have trouble understanding the language, the way the people speak, especially because those places usually have English mixed with like Gaelic or some other local language that was squashed and pushed aside and obliterated during the colonization of the islands, both by the Romans but also by the English. Yeah, let's not get into that kind of depressing talk. Yeah. still waiting on responses about the book's translations. I spoke with the professor and, was given a bit of hope. But yeah, I'm not keeping that hope very high, because that's the best course of action, I think. I don't keep your hopes up, and you will not be disappointed. The job hunt overall is not going well. I keep sending resumes and stuff, but it's useless. Anyway, before I tell the story, I made something else. It's a phone bag. I will be using it for the time being, since this thing, I can still use it, but probably only during the week, because it's all messed up. I need to get a new one. Maybe I should even get a new phone. Let's be real, this one is 5 years old. It's getting slower, not because of like updates and stuff, but because of all the stuff that I have in it. I could format it, but I'm scared I'll lose all the things that I have in it. I will have to block my ears, I'm sorry. Yeah. That's a cover that I had. The one that I have here was also another one that I got separately, because this thing didn't come with one of these. It just came with like a bit of double-sided tape thing. I don't even know what the hell that's called. That's magic Velcro, whatever. But it wasn't very strong, so I used super glue. And this thing, I had to replace it because the other one was too chunky, and I couldn't use the phone properly. But my thingy is here, and I like the thingy, so this will probably be the weekend phone case. This will be the weak one for the time being, until I get some cash and am able to get a new phone case, since this one is battered. I can pull this thing out and glue it to a different case. But I don't think I want to do that. You know what we should do? Breathing exercises. So let's do the 7 for 8. me finish the coffee first. Yeah, someone was commenting the other day that I look like Paul Stanley in the 80s, and I thought it was funny because I didn't remember what Paul Stanley even looked like. I'd heard some of his music in passage, but all my mental images of him were old, so I googled Paul Stanley in the 80s, and I was like, yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. And I'll take that as a compliment because he had some style. Which I kinda don't. And I also thought it was funny that all the people that people say I look like are either androgynous people with curly hair and black eyes. Like, I just have one of those faces, I guess. Or people with Mediterranean or Jewish Middle Eastern ancestry, which is my case. Like, I just kind of embody that vibe. Not much I can do about the old exotic look. It is what it is. I mean, I wouldn't really change my face or anything. Even if I had a lot of money, why would I do that? Just to look plastic? I mean, if that's your thing, go for it. But I feel like a lot of plastic surgery these days makes people look the same. And I mean, I guess that's not a bad thing if you're into that, but it's not really for me. I don't think. I'd rather still be exotic and have self-esteem issues, which I still do. I'm sorry, but I do. Then, do that kind of thing. I mean, I guess the hair is a problem because, it's falling out, and there's not much I can do aside from hair transplants. It wouldn't grow back even if I did some hormonal treatment, I don't think. So my best option really is minoxidil, which I don't really have the money to afford every month, and that's like a commitment. It's an aesthetics thing, but for someone like me who doesn't like to draw a lot of attention when I'm outside, and also doesn't wear hats, yeah, I really need to find a way to be able to afford that. Yeah. And before before we do the breathing exercise and I tell the story and clock out, my ace spec phone bag. I did this in a herringbone pattern. The back is just half double crochet. Then I did a chunky button thing to close it and the strap with the remaining of the yarn. It was a cool skein and I found it randomly at a craft shop. I didn't go specifically looking for this. It was just there and it was the only one too, so it's really good. Well, the only thing about not being able to go to this thing that we had planned for today was that my brother really wanted to go. And I mean, it's raining, so it wouldn't have been incredible, but yeah, I was still not particularly pleased about disappointing him, since yesterday was his birthday and we have this tradition where we like bun go to this place, which happens around his birthday, and yeah, not happy about that, not pleased at all. Yeah, another thing that I made just before we do the breathing exercise, little crochet dress and hat moment for this doll that was in one of those plastic bowls. The dress the doll came with was this really awful fabric that I don't even know. Found it. Oh, this was the dress. This is umbrella fabric. And even the hair is really bad. The face was all smushed, so I filled it with cotton so that it wouldn't be smushed. And then I made the little dress because I wanted to try to make a little doll dress. And yay, success. Kinda looks like holiday Barbie. Miniature holiday Barbie. But it's an upgrade. I did more rows on one of the panels. I'm running out of time. I need to really speed it up, but let's do the 747.
Relax. Focus on your breathing. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. 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 Well done.
Well done. If you followed along, well done, regardless. Anyway, we're nearing 40 minutes. I think I might be able to tell you the story of Little Mary. Little Mary. That's the name of the story, or the title that I gave it, translated. So this story is kind of a teaching story, I think. Yeah. It's a kind of fable mixed with fairy tale. And when I was retold this story, I only remember the part with the eagle, because my grandma didn't tell this one very often, since it's one of the long ones. She preferred the shorter ones. And when she told us the longer ones, it was usually a one-time thing. She wouldn't repeat those. She would repeat the short ones because those were the most impactful, and they had rhymes, and those rhymes taught you something. And of course there were the funnies as well. So this story is called Little Mary. And it goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a queen with a beautiful daughter called Mary. Everyone called her Little Mary because she was small, nimble, and sweet. She was fated to marry a prince as soon as she was old enough to marry, and would then inherit her mother's throne, who was the queen of the land. Little Mary used to walk through the gardens every day. Then, one day, an eagle passed by and saw her, and after that the eagle started flying overhead every day. Little Mary, which one would you prefer, to go through strife in youth or in old age? The eagle asked. The little princess went and told her mother, who was the queen, what she had been asked, and so the wise queen spoke. This you shall say, my sweet daughter. I would rather go through strife in youth, when I can handle it all, for in old age you cannot handle anything. Little Mary returned to the garden, as was her habit, and the eagle returned as well, and asked her the question. And so she answered, I would rather go through strife in youth, she said. And then the eagle picked her up and flew her through the air before dropping her on the land where the prince who she would marry lived. Little Mary didn't know anyone there besides the queen and the prince, but you see, she couldn't talk to them without an official notice, and she didn't get the chance to get one, so she couldn't go to that. And so she went to a bakery and asked for a job as a helping hand. The baker lady accepted her. One day, when the baker left to run an errand, she left little Mary alone to bake an oven full of bread, which had been previously kneaded and left to rise. The girl was scared and closed all the doors and windows so that the eagle wouldn't get in. But still the eagle snuck in through the chimney over the oven and covered the bread in dark soot, broke clay basins, and a lot of plates, and then fled. When the baker arrived, she beat up little Mary without mercy and told her to get out and never return. It didn't matter how much the poor girl cried and begged. The baker didn't believe her. So little Mary went to a tradesman to help him. When he left one day and she was alone in the tent, she was scared again and closed everything, but the eagle was shrewd and managed to sneak in. It broke glasses, measuring tools, bottles, and opened barrels, spilling all the wine and olive oil. When the tradesman returned and saw all the wreckage, he didn't care to hear what little Mary had to say, and slapped her without mercy before throwing her out. Little Mary walked from there to the palace without being recognized, and offered to be the prince's maid. The queen said that she didn't need any more maids, but the prince intervened. Accept her, mother dear, even if all her duties are watching the ducks. Well, so be it. Let her in. Every day, some of the ducks she was watching died, and the prince, seeing that she cried so much because of the ducks, asked the queen to have her become a seamstress instead. Some time passed, and at last the prince got ready to go meet his bride. When he got near the maids, he spoke. What do you wish me to bring you from the land I am going to be travelling to? For you see, this prince was a very nice boy. All of them asked for something, except little Mary. The prince insisted with her to tell him what she wanted from there. Well, I wish that your royal highness brings me a stone from the palace. The prince left, and when he arrived at the palace, he heard that everyone was mourning the loss of their princess. He was very sad to hear that, and right then he bought all the things the maids had asked of him. Had asked of him. And picked up the stone that little Mary had asked for before leaving. When he got to his own palace, he was very sad and somewhat suspicious about who exactly little Mary was. He gave her the stone, and to understand why she wanted the stone, he hid under her bed. When she returned to her room, she locked herself inside, checking to see if nobody was listening, and started speaking to the stone. Stone of my father's palace, I will tell you about my life. And that's what she did. She told the stone about her walks through the gardens and the eagle who cursed her, and how she'd ended up there. At the end, the stone exploded, and little Mary spoke. Open up, stone, in a circle of knives, for I wish to lay in them. Hearing that, The prince crawled from under the bed and gave her a hug before he spoke. "Why did you not tell me about your strife, dear Mary?" "For when the eagle wanted me to go through strife, I said I wanted to go through it in youth, because in youth you still have some hope." And so, finally understanding, soon after that, and with the curse lifted, the prince and the princess got married and went to meet the queen mother of the princess, was very happy, and went to live with them. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. A strange tale, isn't it? Like I said, it has some elements of folklore from all over Europe, and I wouldn't be surprised if this story had some fun similar stories in other places, but that's the story in here. And it's nice that for once the prince wasn't a total creep. The only creepy thing that it did was hide under the bed. Which was pretty creepy. In case there was nothing wrong with the girl and the rock, the stone that you wanted. But I guess we can give the prince some grace, because it was a strange request, like a rock, a stone from some palace. And then he crawls from under the bed and kind of gives her a hug and stuff, and is not creepy in any way, and just asks, "Why didn't you tell me?" Yeah, it's one of those rare cases where the prince isn't a complete idiot and a complete bastard, because he even went to the other maids and asked them if they wanted something. So the prince was nice. So it's really a fairy tale, and it's I think a teaching story, because it's about like going through strife in youth or in old age. And the queen says, in youth, because you can handle things. And then the princess realized, yeah, in youth you still have some hope. But she was ready to give that up. I guess there are some details that I missed, or rather I wasn't told, and I skipped when I was typing it down. But yeah, somewhere along the way she must have realized that, yeah, in youth you still have some hope. When you're old, you just, yeah, I'm old. There's no hope. The eagle is a symbol, for sure. Not entirely sure why. This particular bird was used in this story, but I distinctly remembered my grandma telling me the story, and it being an eagle. And eagles have symbolic meanings, and I can look it up before we get as we get to 50 minutes of me just yapping. Okay, so apparently the eagles exist in the Bible, and they symbolize freedom, strength, and power. Um, let's see what they symbolize in Native American beliefs. Native American. Probably the same thing. Let's be real. Strength, courage, leadership, connection to the spiritual realm. Highest, bravest, strongest, and holiest. Yeah, it's the same thing. Which I find interesting. That cultures so far removed have similar symbolisms attached to animals. And yeah, I guess that's enough yapping. I will be trying to record the sleep tail thing using the computer's cameras to see if that makes any difference. I'll put the recording in a drive and try to edit it on my phone, because that's where I have the free app that doesn't have a huge ugly watermark. Like, not that this is anything to go by, but yeah, the watermark was just I didn't like it. Yeah, don't think there's much else aside from thank you for being here. If you listen to this point, thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate your presence here. These are my little therapy sessions where I get to yap and yap and yap and yap about things, about random things about my life, like not personal, huge personal, groundbreaking story time. No, not clickbait stuff. I don't want to fall into that trap. Never did. Even in my old channel, there's one video where I kind of make fun of that, because there was one time where I cut my finger when I was washing up like the dishes, and the glass shattered. This is getting long. It's fine, whatever. And the glass shattered, and a shard like sliced through these two fingers, and my immediate reaction was, oh my god, did it sever a nerve? I was seeing like the tendons and everything inside, but that was my first thought. Really, was, did it sever a nerve? And so I did this with all of this open. This was all open. But since I could do this, and when you cut yourself and it's a big wound, you don't feel it immediately, right? Maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but yeah, I'm telling you, you don't feel the pain immediately, because it's the flesh is still warm, and the brain hasn't processed the pain yet, and it didn't bleed immediately too. So I was just, oh god, it did sever a nerve, because this is my dominant hand. So I did this, and since I could do this, I was like, it did not sever a nerve. That's great. That's awesome. So what did I do? I rolled my hand in a washcloth, and I went to grab my phone. I called the nearest hospital. Should I call it a hospital? It's not a hospital. It's a doctor's office. Right. They exist. In small communities, they exist. Small doctor's offices. They have a doctor, a nurse, and a receptionist, and usually someone who does the cleaning and helps the nurse and the doctor and stuff. Usually they just help the nurse. And then the nurse helps the doctor. It's that's the hierarchy. So I called this place. And I was like, yeah, so I cut my hand with a glass. There's a big hole. I think I need stitches. I was very calm. I was very calm at that point because that day I needed to go meet my supervisor because I was doing my master's degree. And I was going to meet my supervisor that day. And in my mind, that was the priority. I had my hand all cut up, but I needed to go meet my supervisor. So I called this place. There was still time. I called this place, this doctor's office, and I asked, would you be available to, stitch my hands? Maybe? Probably? The thing is that I wasn't affiliated with this doctor's office, and technically you have to do that. I was affiliated with a doctor's office somewhere else because like I said, I've moved around a lot in my lifetime. And I was affiliated with this place. And the receptionist was very, shook. And was like, how big is this cut? And I was like, it's quite big. I can see everything inside. It's not huge. I don't want to call an ambulance for this. And I have, I don't want to call an ambulance for this. And so she said, okay, you can come. Yeah, it's fine. You can come. There's not a lot of people here. You can come. And so I walked to this place with my hand rolled up in the washcloth. I walked to this place, and I walked in, and the receptionist saw me and was like, "You walked? You were alone?" And I was like, yes, I was alone. And I was just like, do you want to see it? And she was like, no, I don't want to see anything. Just sit there. They'll call you in a minute. And I just sat there looking at the time like, oh my God, will I be able to catch the train to go meet my supervisor? And I was like, oh God, no. With my hand rolled up in the washcloth. And then they called me. The nurse took the washcloth and she looked at it and was like, oh, that's a big hole. She cleaned it up and all that. And there's where I got a little annoyed. This is getting to be 1 hour, but that's fine. I don't really care. We got into story time territory. The nurse was just stood there waiting for the doctor because the doctor was the only person who could stitch up my hand. And I looked at the nurse like the doctor was taking a lot of time, and the time was ticking, and I needed to catch this train. There would be no other train that would allow me to get there on time. And I looked at the nurse and I was like, couldn't you stitch up my hand? And she was like, yes, I could, but the doctor is the only one with the authority to do that. And I was like, okay. So I waited. And then the doctor went and saw the hand and basically just did what I had already done and told me to move my hand to see if I'd severed any tendons, and I did. And said, yeah, that's the first thing I did. I checked if I'd severed any tendons. And he was like, oh, this will be 4 stitches. And I was like, sure, okay, fine. The nurse sprayed it with like this anesthesia thing. And in the end, it wasn't 4 stitches, it was just the 2. It was enough. It just told me to keep the fingers like so, just so that they wouldn't open up, and then rolled up my hand. And I was like, yeah, do I have to pay anything? And they were like, no, it's fine. And I was like, thanks. After that, I just ran to the train station. Completely whack, like Silver the Whack, right? And I caught this train. And I was like, yeah, I caught this train. Yay, great. So I was waiting, when I got to the university, I was waiting for my supervisor. And one of my other professors walked by and looked at my hand and saw and asked what had happened, and I said I'd cut my hand that morning, and and I asked him, do you want to see it? And he was like, oh no, I'm fine, I'm good. And then I went to see, and my supervisor finally arrived, and he saw my hand and was like, what happened? And I was like, yeah, I cut my hand this morning. And he was like, well, you could have just messaged me and told me that you couldn't come. Why it didn't have to be this way? And I was like, yeah, I said I would come. Here I am. Tales of being neurodivergent, I guess. Yeah, story time. But point being that when I posted about it on my other channel, I made the like 2 or 3 minutes video and just said, yeah, I cut my head. It's fine. Because it was, like, from what I told you just now, wasn't it fine? It was fine. It wasn't a big deal. And I solved it. So. But if I was like a proper YouTuber, I would make a huge video about all of this. Instead, this is just a section at the end of a video because I was talking about that. Yeah. This is over 1 hour long. I'm so sorry. If you listened until now, I'm very thankful for the support from my therapy sessions. Maybe this is something that I should bring up when I go to therapy. But yeah, that's way more than enough. I'll be posting the story probably later today, and tomorrow I'll be back. And that's a threat. Bye bye.